Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July 28th, 2025 meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit Board of Directors. Would Tabitha be so kind to take roll and announce the Metro Cable replay?
Director Brewer?
Here.
Director Budge?
Here.
Director Dickinson is absent. Director Hume?
Here.
Director Kennedy?
Here.
Director Maple?
Here.
Director Rorba?
Here.
Director Schaefer?
Here.
Director Cerna?
Here.
And Chair Jennings is absent, so serving as chair is Chair Singh Allen.
Here.
And with that, we have a quorum of 9 votes. This meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit District is recorded with closed captioning. The recording will be cablecast on Metro Cable Channel 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast and DirecTV UVerse cable systems. The recording will also be video streamed at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting replays Wednesday, July 30th at 2 p.m. and Saturday, August 2nd at 2 p.m. on Metro Cable Channel 14. Once posted, the recording of this meeting can be viewed on demand at youtube.com/Metro Cable 14. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker card located at the rear of the room and provide it to myself or Adam. Once the item has been called, additional speaker cards will not be accepted. The time allowed for public comment is at the chair's discretion. The timer will chime when you have 20 seconds and then again when your time is up. There were 2 written public comments received for today's agenda, which have been provided to the board. One from Tyler Weber suggesting to add late night service to routes 11 and 13, and one from Wesley Allen regarding frequency of service for bus and light rail.
All right, thank you for that. Next up is our Pledge of Allegiance, and if I may ask Director Budge to lead us this evening. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excellent, thank you. We had some echoes in there. All right, next up is our consent calendar items. Are there any questions from directors? Seeing none. Public comments?
We have Jeffrey Tartagia on item 2.5.
Excellent. Jeffrey?
To the board, the question was in regard to 2.5 was some months ago I made the request that the board needed to review procedures, policies that the board considers because a number of them in effect really needed to be updated. And looking back all the way now, this is 2000 that this started. It was amazing to go through 136 pages to read through and figure out some of these things, but just was wondering, is this the board response, or is this something only internally, because it seems to be an internal matter of coming up with a resolution of updating some procedures and records that are going on? Oh, good. I'm glad to see Roger here because I have some questions for him afterwards. But that's my thing for a consent docket.
All right, thank you, sir. Next.
And we have Helen O'Connell on 2.12.
Hello.
Hello.
I was just wondering, it said approve contract changes to order number 14 to the contract for construction on Dos Rios Light Rail Station. I was wondering if that was because they had to reconfigure the whole thing because of unseen circumstances with the construction, or if it was some other issue that they were going to change back. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm sure appropriate staff will follow up. Any others?
That's all the public comment.
All right, very good. Any follow-up questions from directors? Looking to the left, seeing none. To the right, seeing none. All right. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I apologize for being late. I had some questions raised regarding item 2.4. So,
Okay.
can I hold that? Or how do you want to handle
We can take the vote and then come back to that one, or we can discuss it now. I don't have a preference, so go ahead. Why don't we, I'll yield to you for your comments.
it? Okay. Just some concern raised about the indemnification switch in that, and the basis of, are these on-call officers, or what's the term of employment?
Can I ask Lisa to
Sure.
answer this question?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So these are police officers, they're Sacramento police officers that are off duty, that like to work overtime. So they're in full uniform, off duty, and they choose to sign up for specialty jobs, working at the Golden One Center, working for SAC-RT, working at different locations that want to contract for extra police services.
What's the genesis of the switch in the indemnification?
You gonna go?
So the agreements that we are required by the city to sign in order to have these officers who are not part of our contract with the city requires, and it's everybody has to just indemnify the city versus the other way around. Mm-hmm. And in our agreement with the city for the officers under our regular agreement with the city indemnifies us. So that's the risk that we have, is that we must indemnify the city versus the other way around. And so if something happens and somebody sues the city, then they would tender over.
I understand indemnity.
Yeah.
Okay, that part.
So that's there's no movement according to the
This
city.
is something that the city has as part of their standard agreement?
It's their standard agreement, and they wouldn't, because we did raise that issue. That was the first issue I raised, and they said it's kind of like take it or leave it. Those are the terms.
So why are we entering into this for specialty services when we have officers assigned as a regular matter to regional transit?
Well, about a year and a half ago, the City of Sacramento Police Department took 8 of our officers back.
Right.
So it left us at a tremendous deficit. So for a variety of reasons, and we did the survey, the FTA required street harassment survey, people feel most comfortable with police officers on our trains. And we were trying to find a way to get more police officers, sworn police officers, deputies on our trains to ride with our citizens and our riders. And so this is a creative way that we came up with to get off-duty officers. And we have tremendous interest from the officers. They really actually enjoy it. So we're seeing every single day our spots are filled, and we're having them ride from about 3 p.m. till about 11 p.m., where we traditionally don't have a lot of transit ambassadors because they tend to ride during the peak hours. And so we're just trying to make our system safer.
So these officers would be assigned simply to ride on the trains as opposed to any other. Obviously, if they're police officers and they see something happening, they're going to respond to that. But their assignment would be to ride the trains from 3 to 11.
Exactly.
Okay. And then are we talking to the city at all about either restoring officers or because this is expected to be a more temporary arrangement, is it not?
Correct. This is temporary until they, give us our officers back. We're trying to do anything we can to get sworn peace officers back. And as a matter of fact, the sheriff just rode, and I'll speak to that in my presentation, but he's authorized us another sergeant and another deputy. So we're open to that, and that's forthcoming, but we really could use at least 7 police officers back to get rid of this program and go back into normal operating mode.
Okay, so you're going to continue to have that discussion with the city. And I understand it's challenging for the city as it is for regional transit with a number of vacancies that the police department has, but you're going to continue those conversations, I gather.
Yes, we just actually reached out to Chief Lester and asked her if she wanted to come ride with us, and so that'll open that conversation, and we have a planned train ride in the near future.
Okay. Thank you for the indulgence.
Of course,
Madam
and
Chair.
Director Maple has some follow-up.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Director Dickinson, for bringing up some of those concerns. I had questions about the indemnification as well, so I appreciate the answers. The questions I have are actually around training. So for the standing contract that we have with PD, I'm assuming that those officers they're aware of how SAC-RT functions, how the routes work, and so on. Will the folks who are in this more temporary program have any training that's specific to RT?
Yes, of course. Obviously, number one would be on-track safety, because we want to make sure our officers are safe and know how to do their function around tracks. But they do receive training, and nobody can come and work for us unless they've had the prescribed training that we set out.
Okay, and then one last question I have, I'm sorry, is when there's an incident, so let's say, you know, obviously tragic incidents happen from time to time on any railway, not just on RT. Does RT call out the officers that are specific to the contracts that we have to address those incidents, or is there just a call to 911 and PD generally?
You know, it varies, and because we lost those 8 officers, so ideally we would like to handle the things that happen on SAC-RT property, and we have sheriff deputies and we have police officers, and they write all the reports on SAC PD in their record system. But all MOUs that we have actually say that the jurisdiction will take over, because oftentimes we don't have any officers. We might have 2 officers on duty period for our entire system, and maybe something happens on the Gold Line in Folsom and Rancho Cordova. We don't have anybody available. So the local jurisdiction has to go and respond. But it varies because we're pretty well known. So sometimes they'll call the SOC, and then our Security Operations Center has a drop line with SAC PD, SAC Sheriff, so they seamlessly connect. So even if somebody calls 911, SAC PD or SAC Sheriff is going to tell our Security Operations Center and our police officers, hey, we just got a 911 call and here's where it's at. So it's pretty seamless.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I will look for a motion to pass the.
Move approval of items 2.1 through 2.13.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any noes or abstentions? Seeing none? Thank you. All right, next up is item number 3. Public addresses board on matters not on the agenda.
We have Barbara Stanton.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Barbara Stanton for Ridership for the Masses Group. We have a very interesting situation here. We went to tap our Connect card at the Arden Del Paso Light Rail Station. However, the one and only Connect card tapper did not work, and there wasn't another one. So then we got off at the 16th station because I called 321 bus and asked what were we supposed to do about paying our fare. And she said, no problem, just get off at the 16th Street station and tap your card after you get off the light rail. Well, there's no Connect card, anything at the 16th Street station. So we're wondering what's going on and how are we supposed to pay our fare. I mean, we do want to pay our fare. And so that's our question. What's going on with the Connect card readers? Can we tap on light rail or can we tap on bus, or how does that work? That's the number 1 question. I have a number 2 question.
Okay.
At the last meeting, 2.2 was taken off the consent calendar. It was about the DEI grant, the federal grant regulations. And there's nothing on this agenda about that this time. So we're wondering what happened to our questions. We didn't have our questions answered, and what's going on with that. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have staff follow up, or?
Yes, I'm going to respond to your second question later in my GM report. And your first question, we're going to get to the bottom of that. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Next public comment?
Next is Coco Cocazella.
Hi, Coco Cocazella. Chair Jennings, who's not here, has expressed a couple of times in recent meetings that the board hears the concerns of the public and regards them as important input for the betterment of SAC-RT. I appreciate that sentiment and that it was expressed, and I certainly myself am privileged to say that I've had many instances of SAC-RT staff and others, staff, obviously, being available, and excellent outreach forums and very, very fine interactions. But I would like to call out several vectors where I don't feel heard. So, Number one, when the GM uses a good portion of the time during the GM report to proffer a defensive stance against things that were said by the public during the meeting. That kind of crosstalk shows, in my opinion, a keen lack of active listening in consideration of the public comments. So I ask that all staff and board take time to consider what the public is saying before jumping in. Number two, not usually hearing from staff or board proactively acknowledgement about things that are going wrong. I would ask that SAC-RT adopts a culture of freely admitting mistakes and missteps. SAC-RT is a complex engineering, fiscal, and political organism. I expect problems. So it feels disingenuous to not hear proactive acknowledgments. And third, a deficit of clear expectations related to public comments. Follow-up, mostly along the lines of, if someone says something, I'd love to hear, honestly, is it going to be addressed or not? I'd rather hear no. We can't address that. We don't have a means. But just indefinitely not knowing is very impactful to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Helen O'Connell.
Thank you, Board. I am thankful to be able to represent people that are unable or unwilling to come to board meetings and voice their opinions. Some people are totally terrified because they think that they may get retribution of some kind. Some people don't think that it's going to matter one way or the other because they're just a big entity. I know better. Things do work if you keep them on task. That gets difficult when you have many challenges with any impairments. But I appreciate the fact that the board and the RT staff are working very diligently to address issues. I just wish, like Coco said, that we would either have a yes or a no, or next month or 6 months from now, we'll talk about it. A timeline would be good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Jeffrey Tartagia.
Jeffrey Tartagia, advocate, SAC-TRU, various other hats. But the first one I'm going to be directing, actually turn around to Roger. And that for Roger Dickinson is, I'm hoping, and since you are apparently on the Cal Expo board, I'm hoping you can determine how many disability riders went through paratransit to the fair, how many 67 and 68. I think that's important because that bus shelter is like several others in the RT system, is not identified. Now, through the transit app, it showed the travel pattern and happened. But for anybody that's trying to leave from there, your RT app doesn't work because you need a bus stop number to use it. Which leads to some of the other questions for the board, is that the RT app, new one for the website, is interesting, good, prove the other things through here, but I will say the transit app answers the first question of being GPS, also turns around and tells you, asks you where you want to go, and gives you the what is around you for dealing with bus location stops and even light rail. I'm hoping that when we go through the other app that is being talked about, which is bringing all of the travel, transit apps, pay apps, and everything else to be consolidated into one location, that more thought is given to it. Also to Roger's other thought I will direct again is asking about fares. I turned around and had where I just turned a report in where a rider turned around and dealt with the fact of people not being ready to pay their fare. Took an extra 2 minutes for each of 3 rides to get those in, but he did that job. Unfortunately, there is many, both shelters, devices, that are not working. I asked that question months ago. I still don't know how many of them are not working.
Thank you, sir.
Next.
And Madam Chair?
I was just going to say,
We'll go here to Roger and then to Director Cerna.
Jeffrey, I'm sorry, but you're about 11 years too late. I was on the Cal Expo board when I was in the assembly, but not since then.
Well, it shows it on there when I looked at the website.
Funny.
Well, that,
Apparently, they need a refresh. Director Cerna,
Madam Chair, do we have any more speakers off agenda?
do we have any more speakers?
Yes, there's a couple more.
I'll say my comments till after the last.
Okay, sounds good. We'll go on to our next public.
Michael Bevins.
Is it working? All right. Hi, everybody. It's been a while. Sorry, I've been wanting to be here a lot, but I never worked out. So a lot of changes of the chairs, a lot of new faces. Why I want to talk today, I am a member of Strong Sacktown. One of our goals is to reform transit and parking and housing, and they all come together. I'm talking here today, talking about Parking Day is coming up. You know, if anybody knows what that is, where an organization takes over a parking spot and demonstrates what that parking spot could be. It could be a park, it could be a playground, it could be a bike rack place. And I'm suggesting to you as an outreach to the community that maybe we consider Parking Lot Day. And I know RT has a bunch of vastly empty parking lots at our train stations. Maybe you had a contest, design. What would you do, public, if you had the idea to turn this parking lot into something? What would you do that would maybe get the SAC-RT to either sell it to somebody who's going to develop that, or maybe become your own developer and rent it out to whatever it is? I know we do some farmers markets. We can maybe expand that, do more of them. Turn it into a strip mall just for bicycles and buses. I don't know. The imagination is great. I have many ideas I'm happy to share with you, but maybe you can ask the public, hey, you got a parking lot here, it's empty. You've done some housing reforms recently. I know you're working on one at Art in Del Paso. Maybe you have plans for doing that at these other places that are vastly empty. So anyway, consider that for Parking Day. Maybe we have a parking lot day. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Jenny Meitel.
Testing. Okay. Hi, my name is Jenny. I'm also a member of the group Strong Sacktown. We're a community volunteer organization, and we're focusing on doing multiple things that are the next small step for making the place we live better. Some of our focuses are advocacy for safer and more pedestrian and bike infrastructure. And since a big part of getting around is transit linked with that, we're also trying to get more into talking to SAC-RT and doing advocacy for what we feel can make transit in our community better. So I'm here today just to introduce us because we're going to try to have more presence at these meetings, and also to ask that SAC-RT, and I know you're already doing this, but we feel that focusing on increasing route frequency and coverage, and I know that that's not always two things that go together, those are things that we feel are very important, and prioritizing those over large projects that are a big bet, like the Green Line, which I know is contingent on federal funding in the future and may never happen. We feel that the benefit of the community is in the smaller projects, like focusing on routes that are working well now and expanding those. So, thank you.
Thank you. Looking forward to your participation.
And lastly, Basan Ibrahim.
Hello, my name is Bassam Abraham, and I'm also from Strong Sacktown. And I think one of the most important things for choosing transportation options is the reliability of the service, like how much you can depend on it. So what astonishes me is apparently there are some routes with headways longer than 30 minutes. And along with that, some routes, you can't ride them at night. If you have something like a car, you can drive out at night to like go somewhere, but you can't with SAC-RT. And that's probably one of the reasons why I think we're not getting as many people to ride it as we could. And then along with that, in downtown, the light rail, it goes pretty slow because there's no signal priority, so they can get stuck in traffic. So I think we should establish in downtown, some signal priority for light rail. I think you guys are working on that. And then along with that, really, we should really hammer in the service, add night service. Along with that, we should take all the bus routes that are like longer than 30-minute headways, because no one's going to be waiting longer than 30 minutes if they miss the bus. We should essentially have a goal of every bus route being 30 minutes or less for their headways. And I think if we can increase how reliable it can be, the better. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Any more?
That was the last comment.
All right, we'll close the public comment and questions here. I think Director Cerna, you had a follow-up?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to respond briefly to Ms. Cocazello's comments about being heard and listening, because I think those are really important points that are not lost on me. And I want to acknowledge, first off, that we have a very strong tradition, especially here at RT. All of us serve on our home councils or boards and other boards and commissions, and we all are subject to the Brown Act and all of those boards and commissions, including this one. And I know that the folks that routinely comment on off agenda know this, but I'm nonetheless going to just remind everyone that we are limited in our ability to really go deep into detail about subject matter that's brought to our attention on off agenda by state law. Does not mean that we're ignoring you. And in some defense of our general manager, I do want to say that I guess it's just a difference of opinion that I have seen over the years. Mr. Lee be very attentive to hearing what the public has to say during off agenda or otherwise. And if it's not off agenda and it is a matter that has been publicly noticed, I've oftentimes seen our general manager engage and address, even in real time, some of those concerns, not just reserved for his general manager's report. So I guess I would respectfully say that that's just a difference of how we've viewed things. But again, at least speaking for myself, and I think there's others on this board that are very serious about our responsibility here as board members, and that means taking the time to hear not just the concerns and complaints, but to make sure that we close the loop on those subjects that we hear from our constituents, and our staff, I think, does a fairly good job of doing that. So again, I just thought it would be helpful for a brief acknowledgement that I think, between the board members, our leadership here, and the leadership of our executive team, that is actually happening. Thank you.
Thank you for that, governance. I was going to mention that at the end as well, so thank you for taking the lead on that. It is important to keep that in mind with the Brown Act, particularly on items that are not on the agenda. And as such, if you feel there's an item that still requires our attention, you're all welcome to individually or respectively, collectively, contact us and then remind us if it has not been addressed. But I do believe that SAC-RT does an excellent job being very responsive and proactive, but there are, I'm sure, times where that may not seem to be the case. So in those circumstances, please bring that to our attention, because customer service, your attention, public comments are important to not only us, but everybody here at SAC-RT. So thank you. Any other questions or comments from directors? Seeing none, we will move on to our next item, 4.1. Information, customer service, response to feedback and comments. We have our light rail modernization update.
Thank you. Chair Singh Allen, members of the board. I am Lisa Hines, Vice President of Security, Safety, Customer Satisfaction, and Facilities. As the lead of customer service for the agency, I will be presenting customer satisfaction strategies in response to public concerns. I will continue to cover this topic at future board meetings. Following my presentation, Blanca Arrojo, VP of Operations, will be presenting on customer response and feedback and provide a light rail update. We at SAC-RT make customer complaints a priority. Our customer satisfaction department has 2 teams that intake and manage complaints. Our customer service team of over 20 staff members handle customer questions regarding our system. Our customer advocacy team of 5 handle all SAC-RT complaints. This involves requesting video, working with teams throughout the district to investigate allegations, and communicating the resolution to the complainant. Here are some basic stats for our customer service team. Our average time people must wait for customer service to answer the phone is 23 seconds. The number of calls that come in per month are 17,059, which is a 12-month average. And the average time customer service talks to customers is 2 minutes and 17 seconds. Our customer advocacy team strives to keep the line open and staffed with representatives. However, due to the complexity of some reports and sensitive complaints, representatives tend to be on the phone with customers for a longer period of time, talking and or returning calls. Everyone at SAC-RT takes complaints seriously, assisting in resolving issues quickly. A good example of a complaint that required several departments to assist were the complaints about excessive noise and announcements coming from our new S700 trains. Although many citizens reported that the new S700 trains were quieter and much smoother, we did receive complaints from neighbors living close to our 48th Street Light Rail station. They reported that the new S700 trains had excessively loud gong noises and external announcements. So I want to share here a summary of the actions we took as a team. First, Director Kennedy set up a meeting with a complainant and SAC-RT staff at his office. After hearing the concerns and understanding what the issues were, staff reached out to Siemens and started working on these 2 issues. We hosted a meeting here in this very room on December 30th at SAC-RT, discussing all the issues and identifying next steps. We held a community meeting at the 48th Street Light Rail Station. We stayed in communication with the community members via email and phone calls. And then we hired an acoustic expert, which was a recommendation from a community member. We moved the speaker at the station and faced it away from the houses and more towards the freeway. We lowered the decibel level of our external announcements coming from the trains. And then we invited the community member that made the original complaint to join us as we recorded the gong for the more preferable CAF cars. And then that preferable gong noise was uploaded to all of our new S700 trains. This fall, we hope to run all S700 trains on the Gold Line exclusively, closing out these issues. The Light Rail Modernization Expansion Project is one of the biggest in SAC-RT's history, second to the start of the line in 1987. SAC-RT successfully assembled the resources needed to move the $1 billion phase project forward, including the launch of the new low-floor trains. However, with a change of this magnitude, we did receive feedback from community members. And I want to be clear, there are 3 reasons why level boarding is not doable at this time. It is cost prohibitive. Our peer agencies like MTS did not implement level boarding. And 3, we have to continue to run a mixed fleet until 2034 on the same platforms. And my partner Blanca Arrojo will cover the ramp deployment concerns in greater detail in her presentation. The new S700 low-floor light rail vehicles represent a major accessibility upgrade for Sacramento riders. These vehicles eliminate stairs, offer easier boarding for passengers with mobility devices, and include deployable bridge plate ramps to safely bridge the gap between train and the platform. At one of the first light rail systems in the United States, with the construction of our starter line completed in 1987, prior to the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, Sacramento provided accessibility for persons using mobility devices from the outset via a single elevated 36-inch boarding platform, which we call a mini-high ramp, or mini-high platform, rather. It was accessible by a ramp located at each station, and that provides access only through the front door of the first car of the train. Members of the public have inquired why Sacramento could not implement full-level boarding. This is directly related to the need to use both the legacy fleet and the new S700 trains for an extended period of time. Legacy light rail vehicles with their first step at 11 inches high can be boarded from the raised 8-inch platform constructed as part of the project. But a boarding platform of 14 inches high off the floor of the new light rail vehicles would create a tripping hazard for the legacy fleet. The conflicting floor height is the primary and specific reason that the low floor boarding from 8-inch platforms was implemented. We modeled its platform and vehicle design after San Diego MTS, as they were mitigating a similar fleet integration issue, and the design had been used with success for several years. The 8-inch platforms, designed and constructed as part of the light rail modernization expansion project, are compatible with both the older trains and the new trains. To accommodate both legacy light rail vehicles and new light rail vehicles, Sacramento designed the platform to ensure usability for both fleets, as some of the legacy light rail vehicles, again, will remain in service until 2034. In some stations, there's just not sufficient space for a gradual slope, in which case a contrasting treatment and/or handrail extending the full width of the new platform is required in accordance with ADA standards. Passenger-activated ramps provide access to the new light rail vehicles for passengers using mobility devices and who are unable to make the step from the platform into the vehicles. This design was developed with extensive input from the Mobility Advisory Council, MAC, peer agencies, and disability advocates, and was approved by the Federal Transit Administration, FTA. Sacramento's ramps are wider than federal minimum requirements and provide a more gradual slope than ADA standards require. We make it a priority to make reasonable accommodations for people with unique needs. Although we're not in a financial position to staff every single train and every single light rail station with staff to perform as assistants, we do ask our transit ambassadors and security guards to assist our riders. In January of 2025, Sacramento launched increased service frequency to the last 7 miles of the Gold Line serving Folsom. We were successful in securing the state grant to fund the improved service. However, the granting agency only funded one of the passing tracks and not the additional side track near Hazel Boulevard. To accelerate the schedule of providing the 15-minute service early to the residents in this community, without delaying construction of the project while we attempt to secure funding for the second track, Sacramento moved forward with construction of a passing track near Glen Drive in Folsom. As a result of the new track, we are now servicing the Folsom stations with an increased frequency and 3 trains per hour. We continue to pursue grants that will allow us to construct a second passing track. These headway improvements have come just a few years after Sacramento expanded late night service to Folsom to extend to 11:30 p.m., where we were prior ending our service at 7 p.m. Sacramento has worked diligently to reduce the number of elevator breakdowns at Wattenai 80 over the past 4 years. Between 2022 and 2023, we installed 2 brand new elevators there. We implemented a program in September of 2023 where we assigned light-duty employees to be elevator monitors. The elevator attendant program resulted in improved elevator performance with minimal elevator outages. Having staff there gave them the ability to report any concerns immediately. We have made a huge improvement in elevator outages in Watton I-80 as a result. There have not been any bus bridges for the elevators being down at Watton I-80 since October of 2024 due to our improvements implemented. The Watton I-80 Transit Center continues to undergo major capital improvements as part of the Reimagine Watton I-80 Master Plan. While construction progresses, Socrates' primary focus remains on ensuring safe passenger access throughout the station and along adjacent streets. Socrates made several operational changes to protect both passengers and employees during construction. These include implementing new temporary route plans for multiple bus lines and relocated layovers away from active construction areas, daily monitoring by supervisors and station staff to ensure safe bus access and passenger boarding, a dedicated web page with project updates, maps, and FAQs for riders, social media posts, email alerts, and web notification announcing detours, construction changes, and elevator status. Temporary signage and direction boards are installed throughout the station, showing passengers where to board or transfer safely. Socrates' technical team actively manages real-time detour data to ensure rider-facing apps show the most accurate stop information possible during ongoing construction. When the station upgrade is complete, there will be improved lighting and line of sight throughout the station, redesigned stairwells for improved safety and accessibility, upgraded pedestrian crosswalks near Watt Avenue and freeway ramps, and modernized bus stops and shelters. In 2018, Socrates launched SmartRide, becoming an industry leader and pioneer in the new on-demand microtransit service. It was immediately popular, and Socrates received a one-time grant from the Sacramento Transportation Authority to expand the pilot program to 9 zones throughout the county. Because it was so successful and it was supported by this one-time grant, we reached out and engaged the board of directors, Riding Public, the Mobility Advisory Committee on a cost-effective replacement program. Socrates brought the proposal to the board of directors in August of 2024. It was refined through public engagement, and the board approved transitioning the program to Socrates Flex in early of November of 2024. All 9 zones were maintained, and the program focused on a limited group of qualified riders with the greatest transportation needs, including seniors 62 and over, low-income individuals, and persons with disabilities. To use Socrates Flex, riders must meet the eligibility requirements and register in advance. Since the soft launch in December and the full transition in January, Socrates has received positive feedback regarding the program. Socrates will leverage $77 million federal grant to secure approximately $150 million in total funding. This will transform our bus maintenance facility 2, located at McClellan Park, into a zero-emission hub, including northern Sacramento's first hydrogen fueling station. Socrates is transitioning its fleet to fully comply with the state zero-emission bus mandate by 2040. All hydrogen fueling solutions pursued by Socrates will meet and or exceed California's environmental regulations. Public comments at our last meeting suggested that a fuel path was decided, but it is still under evaluation. Our planning department is conducting a hydrogen feasibility study, which includes evaluating delivery methods and market availability, as well as a comprehensive evaluation of how hydrogen buses will be included in our future fleet. We will provide detailed updates on the effort at a future meeting. All hydrogen fueling solutions pursued by Socrates will meet or exceed California's environmental regulations. We are embracing both battery electric and hydrogen fuel cell buses to meet aggressive emission reduction targets, including full compliance with the zero-emission bus mandate by 2040. We at Socrates are committed to operating a 100% zero-emission fleet by 2040. Socrates' zero-emission transition is not only about compliance, it's about setting a standard. The new Dos Rios station in the River District on the Blue Line construction began in November of 2024. This was after being identified in SAC-RT's capital portfolio for over 25 years. Despite having $0 for construction of this station 5 years ago, SAC-RT and our partners have been successful in securing over $45 million to support the station construction from a variety of sources. SAC-RT embraces technology as its backbone to improving the customer experience. Continuing this approach, this summer, we will launch an easy-to-use fare payment app called Transit Connect, offering a seamless way to purchase and manage fare. The new payment platform will be rolled out in multiple phases to provide a smooth transition for customers. Once fully implemented, the new payment platform will provide customers with a consolidated app experience that combines fare payment, trip planning alerts, and enhanced messaging. SAC-RT accelerated long-term solutions to its fare payment system with this anticipated launch of the new fare app, eventually phasing out the old tap devices at light rail stations and replacing it with a more resilient approach. It's particularly critical for state employees, college students, and recipients of benefits from social service agencies, among others who use the Connect card system. Riders will have access to SAC-RT fares on their mobile device for the first time without having to go through cumbersome processes to receive reimbursement or find a working Connect card machine. The first phase of the project will introduce the new consolidated mobile fare payment application for SAC-RT and YOLO bus riders. Tickets and passes will be validated visually during this implementation phase, similar to SAC-RT's current mobile app, ZipPass. Once fully implemented, the new payment platform will provide customers with a consolidated app experience that combines fare payment, trip planning, alerts, and enhanced messaging, among other features. Phase 2 of the project will integrate the new Transit Connect app with the current Tap to Ride system installed on SAC-RT's buses and SAC-RT Go fleet. Phase 2 is estimated to occur early in spring of 2026. The new mobile fare app will include SAC-RT's transit partners in a phased approach beginning in the summer of 2026, with full integration to occur by fall of 2026. SAC-RT became a model for the transit industry when it implemented ride-free K-12 program in 2019, ensuring that students can ride our system unrestricted and free. Since launching, ridership among this demographic has grown 200% and will end fiscal year 2025 with 5 million rides. This program is a tremendous example of regional partnership as SAC-RT receives funding from all the jurisdictions it serves, as well as funding from various school districts. On July 9th, Sheriff Jim Cooper rode SAC-RT's light rail train from Old Historic Folsom to 13th Street. Henry and many staff members joined the ride. Having Sheriff Cooper's support of SAC-RT has proven invaluable. Here's a short video highlighting how great it was to have our sheriff riding our system. And now I'd like to turn it over to Blanca Arojo, VP of Operations.
Thank you, Lisa. Good afternoon, Chair St. Allen and members of the board. I'm Blanca Araujo, and I'm Vice President of Operations. Today, I'll be covering three key areas: our light rail system's on-time performance, what's been affecting it, and the steps we're taking to improve, the feedback and field experiences we've gathered during the S700 rollout, and a brief update on the SAC-RT Go software implementation. Much of what I'll share is based on what we've experienced firsthand, riding the system, listening to riders, and taking the right action to address concerns. I'll start with a quick overview of light rail on-time performance before moving into the S700 feedback and accessibility, and then I'll close out with the SAC-RT Go update. Okay, let's walk through how our light rail system is performing. Our on-time performance goal is 97%. And so far in 2025, we're averaging about 94.3. Whilst that's a bit below our target, the performance is relatively stable and improving. There were a few key challenges that impacted our on-time performance. One of the biggest one was the Folsom area, specifically at Glen Station. As Lisa had mentioned on her presentation, we had a slow order in place because the crossing arms did not meet the CPUC standards. Since then, we've completed repairs on those arms, and the crossing arms and the slow order has been lifted, and as a result, we already see noticeable improvements on our on-time performance. Another factor is 7th and Merchant, where parked cars sometimes encroach too close to the tracks, forcing operators to stop and proceed cautiously. We're working with the city to restripe the area and possibly relocate some of those parking spaces. We're also seeing increased ridership, which is great, but it leads to longer boarding times and some delays at the high ridership platforms. We're looking at the dwell time data and exploring schedule adjustments to address this. To put our performance in context, let's look at how we compare to other light rail peers in California. Most agencies set their on-time goals between 85 to 95%, depending on how their system is designed and operated. SACRT's 97% goal is one of the highest in the industry. While we're slightly below the 94.3, we're performing at the highest level compared to many of our peers. We know that we can always do better, so we continue to aim high because we know how important reliability is to our riders. As of today, we secure funding for a total of 59 S700 low floor trains and vehicles, and we currently have 28 delivered on site. 22 are already operating in revenue service, and they're operating all on the Gold Line, and 4 are in final phases and testing, and other 17 trains are actively progressing through manufacturing at Siemens facility. To fully convert the entire system to low floor operation across all 3 lines, we'll need a total of 66 light rail vehicles, and we're continuing to receive deliveries at a pace up to 2 trains per month. By the fall of this year, we anticipate having enough S700s in operation to fully run the Gold Line with low floor vehicles only low floor vehicles. This will be a major milestone to our modernization efforts. As we rolled out the S700 trains, we received several comments and concerns from the public, especially from passengers using mobility devices. We've taken each concern seriously, and one topic that came repeatedly was around ramp instructions. One example came from Jeff Targuilla here with us today, our SACRT ambassador, who pointed out that the ramp button label read "press for the ramp to deploy," while the door button said "push." Although both buttons function the same, push and release, he explained that press could be misunderstood as press and hold. We rode with Jeff to observe this firsthand. And when we held the ramp button down, it interfered with the ramp's operation. It prevented it from creating the cycle. So we will hold it down and you can hear the clicking. And we were able to see that when we rode with him. So to remove this confusion, we updated all the decals to say push, aligning the ramp instructions with the door buttons labels. While we didn't observe others experiencing this issue during our ride-alongs, we proactively made the change to avoid any further confusion and improve clarity within the system. It's also worth noting that the ramp users account for approximately 3% of riders, and for those individuals, these features are critical to their ability to travel independently. Even a single moment of confusion failure can significantly disrupt their journey. We also encounter an instance where the ramp didn't deploy, not due to equipment malfunction, but because the train stopped short of the designated alignment at the station. Since the ramp depends on precise positioning to deploy properly, the misalignment prevented from functioning. We addressed the issue on the spot and sent a follow-up reminder to all train operators, reinforcing the importance of stopping at the correct location to ensure that this doesn't happen. Okay, our next one is separately. The executive management team recently worked with several advocacy groups to address concerns about the S700 ramp deployment. During joint observations at Sac Valley, with some of the members actually here today, several team members also participated in ride-alongs to see riders using mobility devices and having trouble deploying the ramps. Staff were able to determine that the screws used to install the temporary detectable warning tiles, as you can see on the picture, were causing the ramp deployment issues. As you see on the picture, some of the screws used to secure the temporary tiles were installed too close to where the ramp edge deploys. So when the ramp is deploying, it's touching on that higher, and it's causing it to retract because it's not leveled. And when we went out and saw this, the main concern was the Sac Valley, but we did a full. We checked all the different stations for the gold line and identified a second one, and we're looking to make sure that we change and fix that. But that was one of the main things that was being brought up by Jeff and a couple, and we were taking the trains back when that information was coming to us, but we weren't able to duplicate back at the shop because it wasn't a ramp issue, rather the detectable tile issue.
Madam Chair, I could ask a question. I understand what you just said about this particular instance with the fastener being exposed like that, but was there any kind of observation where there's a general conflict between just the texturing of the warning panels and appropriate deployment of the ramps?
No, we didn't notice that. It was, so when we went back and checked at the other stations, when we noticed the issue was only at those, when it reached that specific line where that screw was, and only those that are a little bit upward rather than the ones that are leveled. And then just a note, these are temporary. We will be we're gonna fix it, but we're gonna change them all once we move on to doing the third, the platform accommodations for the third train. So we will take care of it permanently.
Will there be any consideration of making sure that the train position matches where perhaps there isn't any of the textured paneling, so you have a more flush area where it would meet with the grade of the platform?
Yeah, so we looked at that as well because we also knew that it wasn't happening all the time. So if the operator just pulled the train just a little bit further back, it made a huge difference depending on where the ramp was deployed. So we make sure that we also took that in consideration to go back and let the operators know exactly where we need to be at, and that would be another reason why the ramp wouldn't deploy as well.
That's good to hear. It seems to me too that there's all kinds of various wheeled assistance seats and chairs. Some of them may have kind of different, torque in terms of just getting the chair moving. So I would imagine that trying to do that when it's flush and smooth versus a textured panel is a lot easier to do. So
we're looking at different, what other agencies did to see what type of detectable warning styles they use, so we can also make sure that we choose the correct one. So
good to hear. Thank you.
Okay. So on the same one, we did, just to make sure every unit's noted, we did multiple VPs. We wrote the system, and most passengers did appear to be able to use the doors and the ramps without any issues. We did observe a few situations that help us better understand what improvements could still be made. Similar to what I mentioned earlier, several passengers using mobility devices appear to ensure about the timing of the door and ramp sequence. Just as a reminder, when using the ramp, the button should be pushed only once, and the ramp will deploy first, and then the door will only open after the ramp has fully extended. Pushing the button multiple times or during deployment can interrupt the cycle and cause the ramp to stop. So what we were seeing is, again, people would just kind of get, they just because they didn't see the doors open, they would start pushing the button when it's intended for the doors not to open until the ramp will be deployed. We did another ride along. If you can go back to the other one, I'm really quick. Just to point out, we did have our CO and an EMT members do another observation, and we did on this specific picture here, we had a passenger having difficulty reaching the ramp activation button. While every rider's needs are different, this situation highlighted the value of having support when needed, especially for riders who may benefit from traveling with a personal care attendant. So transit ambassadors are always available to assist when present, and we encourage riders to seek assistance if needed. However, we can't guarantee that an ambassador will always be in the train. So we do, having a PCA can provide more consistent and reliable support throughout the trip. One of the most, so this will show actually the new activation button observations of what we're changing it to. So it gives you more information as to what to do. So they just to know to press it once and then wait, which is something that we had a lot of riders ask that they get more information and more clear instructions as how to use it. Can you switch it to the next one? Okay. One of the most impactful changes we're making is through our system software upgrade. Currently, if an ambulatory passenger pushes the door button before a wheelchair user pushes the ramp button, the ramp might be delayed or not deploy at all. With this new software, the ramp button will always take priority. If someone pushes the button for the ramp, it will override any door commands. Even more importantly, the operator won't be able to override manually. The ramp has to deploy first before the train can proceed. So we were seeing that as well, where passengers, and we heard it as well in some of our meetings, and we went back to try to figure out exactly what was happening, and that was the case. Operators wouldn't see nobody coming out when its system itself was trying to cycle, and we're not given enough time, so they'll override it and take off without allowing the passenger either to deboard or board. So now with this change, they will have to wait until that ramp is deployed, allowing either an exit or a boarding to take place. And we're still finalizing the necessary contract amendments for this with Siemens. So as soon as we complete it with that, we're planning to bring it to the board and move that forward. So I'm going to mention a couple of things that Lisa did already mention in regards to what we've done, but I think it's important to note the things that we've already completed. And this is in response to our community feedback. We lowered the gong volume, as she mentioned, to 75 decibels, reduced and clarified external announcements, worked directly with the residents at 39th and 48th Street to address the bell sound concerns, and we hired the sound engineering to evaluate the system, increased 88 door dwell time from 15 to 20 seconds to standardize all decals to say push. We've improved bicycle signage and passenger flow, and all of these completed items will continue to be monitored to ensure that they're working as intended. And what we're still working, we're working on relocating the ramp deployment speakers inside the vehicles. During rider feedback sessions, we heard concerns that the ramp sound cues weren't always clear and easy to hear, especially for passengers with visual impairments and those unfamiliar with the train. So right now they're currently located at the top of the doors, and we had passengers stating that they couldn't hear. So what we're doing is we're relocating only two vehicles, and we're relocating those speakers at the bottom, and we're gonna test that out to ensure that that location works before we move it over to the whole entire fleet. So that's going into process right now of testing to see how it works. Additional to responding to those concerns, we also heard some concerns in regards to bicycles occupying ADA spaces, and we're working with the transit ambassadors and collecting real-time data. We want to know how many bikes we're getting, what is the behavior, is it something that maybe is educational for bike users that don't know where to take the bikes, are we asking ambassadors for assistance if we need to? So we're trying to get the location and get to the root problem so then we can come back and work together and come up with solutions. And then my last update here is for the Sacramento Q Ride. Scheduling and dispatching software. We launched this in mid-April, and we transitioned to the new scheduling and dispatch software platform. During the first 2 weeks of implementation, Sacramento service on-time performance was at 60%, And since then, we've seen consistent improvements month over month. On-time performance rose to 70.5% in May and climbed again to 81.15 in June, showing that service reliability and trending in the right direction and becoming more predictable for our riders. In the early weeks, we experienced long call hold times, scheduling issues, coordination challenges between QRide and UServe, and spike in rider complaints. To address this, we added extra call center support, simplified our scheduling blocks, provide more training to dispatchers, and work closely with our partners to improve platform integration. We already seen complaint rate drops, and riders are reporting a more stable experience. And the new QRide app is currently undergoing third-party testing to ensure accessibility, and we plan to release it once we're confident it meets all standards of usability and equity. That concludes my update. We appreciate the board's continued support as we work to improve both performance and rider experience, and we're happy to answer any questions or hear any feedback you might have.
Thank you. Wow.
I know it's a lot.
Very thorough, very detailed. I love the common theme that I'm hearing is continuous improvement. And you really do an excellent job receiving community feedback and implementation. So thank you for that. I will look to the right for any questions or comments. Yes, Director Dickinson.
Thanks. I just have a question about the student ride. We had a number of, as you alluded to, a number of different entities that had agreed to contribute to that. And that was to total, I think, $1 million in the aggregate. City of Sacramento included $250 in its, $250,000 in its budget. Have all the other organizations and entities budgeted and delivered the amounts that they were pledged to contribute?
It's my understanding that that's currently a work in progress to have those discussions.
So that's a cryptic answer.
Yes.
What does that mean?
It hasn't happened yet. We're hoping it will. So we're having conversations to try to get those into place.
Oh, okay.
Director.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. I believe, we have made agreement with all, virtually we get money from all except one. That organization, is working on that, still not committed yet, but we have been very close to working with them, and hopefully, we can see a positive result.
Okay, so that's the one outstanding issue. The others have all agreed and budgeted the money, and you haven't necessarily received it all yet, though, I gather.
Well, I mean, that's a account receivable. Yeah. Normally, they do not send to you one time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you can keep us apprised of how that's going, that would be helpful.
We will. And Chris actually has been the point of contact with them, with that particular organization. We contact several of you, elected officials, ask you guys to help. Thank you for asking that question, though.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the right? Looking to the left? Yes, Director Maple and then Director Serna.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just quickly wanted to say, to Ms. Cocazilla's comments earlier, I really just appreciate that, we're not always going to get it right. In fact, just like anyone or any organization that's constantly moving with a lot of technical challenges, we get a lot of things wrong. But I just really appreciate the culture that we have here of being willing to acknowledge and fix it. I've seen that a lot. I sit on a lot of different boards. I think probably more so here than almost any of the other organizations that I sit on the board of, that there's this willingness to acknowledge and move to action quickly too. And so I just really wanted to appreciate that. I think your very thorough presentation showed that you do that, you listen, and then you implement, and loved especially seeing the ramp deployment engagement, because we've heard those concerns for a while now. And so I'm really glad to see that that's been resolved, if not working toward a permanent resolution. Thank you.
Director Serna?
Thanks, Chair. So appreciate the presentation, very informative, and I know that it's an iterative process to literally go out in the field with our riders and see how they interact with our new trains, and and the ramps and the, all the mechanics of how we board and disembark and find our way once we're on the trains. And to that point, with regards to the bicycles, do we currently have a policy relative to the number of bikes? I know we have kind of designated areas. It's almost kind of a good problem to have because you obviously want folks using active transportation in addition to our train system, bus systems, to be as mobile as they can in and around where our system serves. But I just wonder if it's time that if we don't have a policy relative to that, maybe it's something that staff could consider bringing back to the board. Also, and in light of the tragedy that occurred last week relative to scooters, I just wonder if there was any feedback given or even anecdotal information shared when you're out in the field kind of testing things with some of our active riders, whether there's any developing conflicts or conflicts that we've encountered in the past between scooters on our trains, especially those that are the app-based scooter systems. Those, I think we all know, can be a bit of a menace, at least in my opinion, where they're just kind of left behind and when the batteries run down, or those that use them don't always return them to where we prefer that they would return them. So I don't know if they get abandoned on our systems or abandoned on our ramps, that kind of thing. But I just want to know if there's any feedback so far that we have relative to the scooter situation.
That evening, Sacramento Police Department's major crime investigation team came out and did a full investigation into that. Unfortunately, the young man riding the scooter had huge headphones on, right, so he didn't hear the train, and he was listening to music, I imagine. He was listening to something that had, so he didn't hear the train at all, and he didn't stop for the crossing arms. He was riding on the sidewalk, so I think it was less of a scooter issue than an inattention issue.
Well, I mean, he wouldn't have been traveling the way he was if there was not a scooter involved, so it is a bit of a scooter issue. But I'm talking more generally in terms of just the way that the traveling public has become accustomed to using these electric scooters in and around our system. Has there been any record or, again, just kind of anecdotal information about potential conflicts or conflicts that have occurred? And I'm not talking about accidents necessarily. I'm talking about just their presence on the system or near the system.
Actually, what we've heard most has been bikes and just different kind of bikes as well, because now we also have the big
electric bikes.
Yeah, and I think that's been most of what the concerns that we've have coming through. We haven't heard of anybody leaving scooters on the system at the end of the night or at ramps or anything like that. We really haven't seen that. It's more of the issue of the bikes, the type of bikes and the space that they're taking. We do have a policy right now is 2 bikes in each train, and there's a specific each side, and we do have specific areas of where we have them. So we've seen that. We've experienced and seen that some passengers just don't know, and they take it, like you'll see 4 in one location. So I think a lot of it might be educational, where they really don't know. And so that's where we're trying to work with her team, with the ambassador, so we can take that time to educate them and then marketing to push that out, because we do have it in place already. And then we're looking to see if that really works and if there's room to change it to something else, depending on what we're looking and how many bikes are coming into the trains daily.
Okay.
Director Surna, our policy also has a weight limit on the bikes so that they can't bring on, theoretically, they're not supposed to bring on these big, heavy electric bikes onto our system.
Madam Chair, I just want to answer Director Sarah's observation. That's actually is a good problem we have. The primary reason is because right now it's a new vehicle. New light rail cars is easy to get in. And we regularly wrote the system, just say what's going on. And that time when we wrote with Sheriff Cooper, and with a whole bunch of bikes. I mean, that is actually from 9 to 10 and from 1 to 2, that time frame. So how we're going to address this issue, we're going to think about, we're going to looking for a way. 2 bikes, per car may not work down the road because the demand is jumping.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine it wouldn't take much for there to be a real convenience conflict between someone that is wheelchair dependent
Yes.
and a rider that wants to use their bicycle
Yes.
for last mile purposes or otherwise. And you only have kind of that limited space that is very near the doors there. So
Yes.
I think it's something that you might want to just keep the board apprised of as we kind of
will.
problem
will.
solve it.
Yeah, just one more comment. The reason we had this long presentation is really thanks to our community partners, Jeff, Barbara, and others, asked us to do some like a workshop, library modernization and expansion. This is one of the largest, probably the largest capital project in our history. Think about $1 billion investment. And we owe an apology to the, to our, our community, advocacy team. And we did not really do this, but every time I want to assure, everybody, every time when, we received any, comments from our speakers and advocacy, groups, the second day tomorrow, we have the executive team meeting. We look at one by one, those concerns, issues raised. Then we immediately assigned, team to address those issues. Normally, within 1 week, we immediately address those issues. I can, I can list all the comments, all those examples. So we listen, we act, and we continuously to improve.
I would just add, too, that you've been very diligent about keeping the board informed by email, typically, about, letting us know that a constituent's concern has been heard and addressed, and even if it's not what the constituent wants completely, you've done your best to try and figure out how best to fix what needs fixing. So, again, that's, I think, what a few of us have been attempting to communicate here tonight, is that I think there's been a very healthy feedback loop that serves our traveling public pretty well.
Thank you.
Continuous improvement. Any other questions, comments? All right, we'll turn to public comment.
And we have Jeffrey Tartagia.
The first response, Phil, is 5 years ago on the low floor is why I put in the request about removing the seats so you could accommodate both the wheelchairs and the other things. On the new ones, Zinfandel and a couple others, you will have more than 5 bikes arriving in there. So this is why, again, I asked before about some policy changes that are needed to be examined and looked at further. All I also will say is it got today to see that actually system update working, because went to push the button to get out at 13th Street. And indeed, the signage said, and they announced that the train's leaving, but it worked. And so I actually was able to, the doors were actually to open up through there. I've had a couple of times when I've been at 29th Street, where I've had to go to 39th Street and come back because the train is moving that fast and that quickly. So a number of these things are being addressed. They're ongoing. There are still matters that to be considered. I thought it was important the board be drawn to the attention of understanding how far we have come and still how far we have to go. And there's still more coming, because people that are, in disability positions that cannot push the button. Charles made the suggestion of having somebody help them, and other riders will help getting out. But the major concern, primary from August until this time, was the outside overrode what was going on the inside. The newest change is supposedly going to rectify that. So inside, pushing the button will open the doors before, so you get people out before you get people in. I have other comments on there, but hey, this is a good start. Thank you for what you've done, and thank you for paying attention to this was what was needed.
Thank you, sir. Next public comment.
Farinars Nabavi.
Oh, okay, there.
I'd like to agree with the previous speaker. We need more capacity for both ADA passengers and for cyclists, and it's not really an either or. I've personally witnessed ADA passengers being unable to board because there's already ADA passenger there and there isn't enough room for 2 wheelchairs sometimes with the folding seats there. I am a cyclist and I am a bus and light rail rider. I would agree with Henry that, you know, it's a good problem to have. And maybe we could look at, for example, removing some of the seats or removing the pole that is in front of the door that the cyclists are supposed to enter in. Because it's not just cyclists, there are also parents with strollers, there are people with carts. There are a lot of uses that riders have that need space. And I personally witnessed when I went to a tour of the Siemens factory that they have other light rail vehicles for other agencies that don't have that pole. So that's something that maybe SAC-RT could look at that would be a cost saving and at the same time improve the experience for ADA passengers, for parents, and for cyclists. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the public comment.
All right, I'll close public comment. Any other follow-up questions from directors? Oh, was there one from Helen?
I don't have one for Helen.
All right. We're on 4.1.
4.1. Okay. Sorry.
So was that a typo? Do you have one for this one or no? No. Okay, excellent. Any follow-up questions, comments? Seeing none, we will move on. So this is just an informational item. We'll move on to 4.2, City of Sacramento Safe Parking Proposal.
Good evening, SAC-RT Board. I'm Chris Flores, Chief of Staff and VP of Real Estate. As you see in your staff report, last week SAC-RT received a safe parking proposal from the City of Sacramento for the Franklin Light Rail Station. We're looking for feedback and direction from the board on the proposal, but before we do, we have Brian Pedro, Director of Department of Community Response for the city, here tonight to present the proposal. Just say next slide.
All right. Good evening, Madam Chair, Board. I'll keep this short. We have about 40 slides. I'm kidding. We don't have 40 slides. We actually, when Mr. Bevins came up earlier and talked about our empty lots, we also thought about that and looked at our empty lots. And that's why we're bringing this proposal for the Franklin Light Rail Station at 4801 Cosumnes. To look at safe parking for individuals that are experiencing homelessness who reside in their vehicles. Next slide, or am I controlling? Okay, perfect. So this will be managed by my department. The program is intended to be temporary, flexible, and fully compliant with the Federal Transit Administration regulations. As you can see, it will not impair the property's capacity to serve as its primary transit function in the public's interest in addressing and pressing regional needs, and then it will not interfere with the property's design, construction, operation, or maintenance. Next slide, please. The proposal will include 24/7 staffing and security, portable restrooms, Showers will be administered likely with a trailer on a regular schedule. And then we'll have trash collection that will be either from Waste Management or through our contract that we have with our FS Global. It will be a structured intake program. DCR will control intake into the site. We will have a good neighbor policy for the area and daily service for service engagement. So we have multiple services that are available to us that we can bring to the site and offer services. Next slide. We are proposing using approximately 140 parking spaces of the 520 that are there. The site that we're looking to accommodate 60 to 80 in that total of 140, which allows us to have an opened area so we can do some rotation of the vehicles and allow us to clean up the areas as we rotate around the space. Next slide, please. As you can see, the overview of this, we're looking at the far west side of the parking lot, opposite side of the actual active RT station. And our next slide, please. A closer version of the site here. So we have some things working to our advantage on this is that there is no parking along that entire section, nor is there actually a place to pull off of the road right there because it's a 2 lanes, small median space there. So that will keep us from any type of parking in the area. Again, this site will be controlled access, ingress and egress will be controlled by us. And I will also note that currently we have no safe parking in the county at all, actually. The county is looking to bring up their safe parking on Watt Avenue at the end of the year. That will take care of the north end of our valley, and then this would be a good south end site to have as well. Next slide, please. So the site will be enclosed by fencing and privacy screening. Again, all ingress and egress to the site will be controlled by on-site staff. We will have a curfew at the site from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. There will be special circumstance for individuals that work at night or need to attend evening functions. So there will be an allowance to come in and out at nighttime, but there will be a curfew. Next slide.
Brian, before you go, could you go back to the last?
Sure.
What's that last bullet actually mean practically? A curfew will be enforced from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
That means at 10 p.m. that the gates and access to the site will be closed. Okay. And unless you have an agreement that you either, most likely it's work for the people that work at night.
Okay, thank you.
And again, before you leave the slide, I was going to mention it later, but this photograph actually, I think, prompts me to chime in now. The RV that's closest to us in the photograph there has a couple of buckets underneath the engine compartment. I think many of us, whether it be cities or the county, understand that, especially with regards to the RVs, that unfortunately have become some people's residences, de facto residences, aren't typically in the best shape. And there are many instances in the district I represent in the county where we've encountered RVs that, and this is not part of any kind of safe parking policy or project, but it's been kind of the organic development of folks parking their RVs and living out of them in places like adjacent to McClellan Business Park, for instance, where even when the RVs aren't there, they're leaving a good deal of mess. And sometimes it's oil and coolant that's actually going into the drains. Sometimes it can be gray and black water from their sewers, onboard sewer systems. So I'm hoping that you're going to tell us a little bit about how you're going to, or how someone will monitor kind of the condition of some of these vehicles so that you're not left with some pollutants on site.
Thank you for leading us into our next slide.
Can I ask?
Next slide, please.
Can I ask a quick question? Just a follow-up based on Director Kennedy's question. No cars in and out of the curfew time, 10 to 6, but can people go in and out? Can they go in and out? The people staying there?
Yeah,
Can,
you can.
okay.
We can't completely shut it down and lock people in. To your question, so all participating vehicles must be operable, registered, belong to the owner, and functioning. So very well aware of the type of vehicles we have in our streets. It's an interesting trend that we're seeing in that the other hat that I wear is in charge of our incident management team. We had code enforcement that goes out and enforces. What we've seen from a couple of years ago when we started, it was about a 50-50, maybe even less, of registered to unregistered vehicles. We're seeing the trend now is about 70% of the vehicles are now registered. And so we're getting rid of a lot of the blight being towed, dragged to areas, not even functioning. And so because we have control over who is going into the site, we have some good control over the conditions, which also brings some of the rules that you will have to agree to coming into the site. No propane. You can't set up tarps outside of your RV or vehicle. No generators, so we won't have fuel and generators running at site. So there's many programs that we have looked at prior to setting this up, and we're still refining exactly where we want to go. There are programs out there that are park and do what you want, which we are definitely not looking at doing. There's programs that are spending millions of dollars on their programs and trying to sit somewhere in the middle of that. We're being conscientious of our budget, yet having some place that does have some rules and space.
There's a follow-up question from Dr.
Brian,
Dickinson.
just this slide makes me wonder whether would be access to electricity and/or water on the site for the RVs or trailers.
Yes, there will be water. Tim, did we look at? Is there electricity on? Okay. Okay. So no electricity. Yes, on water.
I mean, I don't want to assume that the questions will be answered in follow-up slides, but maybe, I mean, unless it's pertinent to this one, I would just suggest that the following slide may answer your question, so that he's not losing his train of thought.
Oh, that's right.
So if it's pressing for the slide, I go ahead and ask it, but let's maybe, so Director Schaefer?
No, I can wait.
You want to wait? Okay. Okay, so please continue.
Thank you. I'm used to being in front of council, so. All right, so what do we have? Ongoing collaboration with RT, and then again, if we need any enforcement of a good neighbor policy on this, I have the benefit of being the director of our incident management team, which also has SAC PD and code enforcement if we need to enforce on this site. Next slide, please.
Can you go back to the previous slide, and the last paragraph needs further explanation, the structured intake.
What is the question, ma'am? Explain that. The structured intake? So likely this would be consistent with our other emergency shelters that we have, where there is an understanding and signed by the individual that's coming into the site to follow the rules that we have provided for the site, and you will be exited if you are not in compliance with the rules.
So when you say vehicles impacting the nearby neighborhood, you mean things that are actually sitting out in the adjacent neighborhood and need a place to go?
Correct. So we will, again, we are controlling access to this. So if we have vehicles that are in the area that are parked on the streets and people are living in them, they will be likely some of the first to come to this spot, because most people living in their vehicles are parked strategically at a location that works for either their job or where the kids are going to school, and so the location...
Or anywhere they can find.
Pardon?
Or anywhere they can find.
Yes, but also tied to a reason for being in that area.
DCR, is that State Department of Corrections?
It's the Department of Community Response. That is my department for the city of Sacramento.
Okay, sorry.
Next slide. So the proposal is for a one-year lease, option to extend. The city will cover all costs related to the program for operations, including staffing, supplies, insurance, and administration. And then we will provide the indemnification for the site and liabilities while utilizing the site. And I believe that is my last slide. Yes.
All right. So we'll turn to the right. We'll start with Director Hume.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brian, can you go back to the slide, or whoever's controlling the PowerPoint or the slide deck, can you go back to the slide that has the kind of zoomed in site plan? Wow, that was fast.
Right.
Next one.
Next slide.
There you go.
There we go.
There, yeah.
So I'm just wondering, it looks like there's a driveway that bifurcates where the outlined area is. Is there a reason why you have the proposed area spanning that driveway as opposed to moving and having the safe parking site entirely to the west and even maybe extending up towards the tracks to the, what would be the north?
So we wanted to take, so that gives us at our 140 to give us the room, first of all.
And I can maybe address that, because that came from a request from SAC-RT. If you see at the very bottom left, there's a box that our wayside unit needs to access.
Kind of a multicolored thing?
Yes, and we need a trailer to get into that, and so to be able to turn around, we needed to have to push them back over to the east side.
Okay. And so this proposal would effectively shut down that driveway then, that ingress and egress?
That's what this rendering would do, yes, correct. There is one farther, as you can see on that screen, and zoom out, there's some additional ones. Most people don't park, as Brian mentioned, over at the southwest corner because it is much farther away from the station platform.
Sure, sure.
And I do have a few slides if you want me to finish up before we can get back to the comments.
Sure.
I'll reserve the rest of my questions.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I'll let Adam catch up, but thank you, Brian. I just did want to show a zoomed out view of the Franklin Light Rail Station. It's located at the intersection of Consumnes River Boulevard and Franklin Boulevard in City Council District 8, as well as Director Kennedy, Supervisor Kennedy's district. Next slide. As a reminder, SAC-RT has worked with the City of Sacramento on previous proposals to assist with homelessness. Back in 2019, the city proposed a triage center at the Florin Light Rail Station, but later decided to pursue an alternative site. In 2022, SAC-RT worked with the city on two sites, Franklin and Roseville Road light rail stations. The board approved usage of both light rail station sites, and the Federal Transit Administration provided concurrence for the Roseville Road station. However, a couple months after approval, the city voted to update their comprehensive siting plan to address homelessness, pivoting to a strategy focused on more permanent housing. In addition to these efforts, SAC-RT has hired a full-time social services practitioner to assist with those experiencing homelessness, and we have provided over hundreds of free ride flyers over the last 2 years to respite centers during extreme weather events. Next slide. So if the board directs staff to continue to work on the safe parking proposal, the following will need to be completed prior to the launch. Community outreach will be conducted, and the city will agree to a good neighbor policy with the surrounding community. The city will need to prohibit camping and storing personal property in the nearby vicinity of the Franklin station. The city and SAC-RT will need to agree to a lease agreement, site plan, and program guidelines. And finally, the Federal Transit Administration must grant concurrence. While the FTA was quick to grant concurrence to Roseville Road 3 years ago, this is a different administration. Transportation Secretary Duffy recently spoke at the American Public Transportation Association conference and raised concerns about safety on transit as it relates to homelessness and attracting back riders. And last Thursday, President Trump issued an executive order that seeks to overhaul the way U.S. manages homelessness. I'm going to ask our legal counsel, Olga Sanchez-Ochoa, to comment on that executive order.
Thank you, Chris. As Chris noted, last Thursday, President Trump signed an executive order aimed at changing the model employed by municipalities and states in managing the unhoused crisis. The president's stated goal is to reverse a number of consent decrees and federal court decisions, clearing the way to allow governments at the local, state, and federal levels to forcibly commit unhoused individuals to mental health facilities and drug and alcohol rehabilitation centers. Section 3 of the President's executive order is particularly concerning for SAC-RT because it directs the Secretary of Transportation, who you all know has complete purview and oversight of the FTA, to prioritize states and municipalities for receipt of discretionary grants, which we heavily rely on, if they, among other things, prohibit urban camping, loitering, and squatting. The language of the EO seems to indicate a very unfavorable view of allowing unhoused individuals to camp in public spaces, and it also puts public agencies like SAC-RT that receive FTA dollars at risk of losing access to those dollars if they do not comply with the administration's anti-homeless policy goals. I now turn it back to Chris.
Great, thank you. And next slide. As mentioned, the Franklin station has a little over 650 parking spots. It opened in 2015, and you can see the parking utilization increasing prior to the pandemic. Staff is going to be working on getting some updated parking utilization figures for the station. Light rail ridership is approximately 70% of pre-pandemic levels, but does continue to have a steady rise. And that last slide. Finally, as the board considers the proposal from the city, staff has identified some previously considerations in light of SAC-RT and our passengers' needs. These include potential need for additional security at the platform in order to gain federal approval, vehicle checks to ensure operability of the vehicles that are ultimately authorized to park in the safe parking, a 24/7 point of contact should any issues arise, and a requirement that all parties involved with safe parking, including the residents, participating on-track safety. With that, I'll turn it back to the board for any questions and comments.
I imagine there's several. We'll continue on with, did you want to finish out your?
I did actually, because I appreciate the chair's admonishment. My questions were actually answered by the following slide, which was whether or not this was a continuation of the previous effort or a new effort altogether. My memory wasn't as good as what the resolution of the previous request to have a safe parking site here was. So it's good to know that that was approved, but ultimately rejected by, or not, I guess rejected. The city went in a different direction at that time and now are circling back to do this. I think that's important to note because we did go through a lot of negotiation relative to particularly nuisance behavior surrounding the safe parking area. And I think that what I'm hearing from Brian on this proposal is a slightly different clientele / end user that I think also addresses the president's EO. And that is because an RV that is operable and registered, or a car that's operable and registered, to me is a completely different person than a lot of the situations we see of this just sprawling sort of, hood up, multiple trailers and things, and just more of a trash pile associated with the vehicle that's parked there. And so I think you're proposing something that's very different. And I think that it's more akin or aligned to the working poor than necessarily some of the more public encampments that we see causing a nuisance for those wishing to go about their daily lives, which I think was the intent of the EO. So I'm interested in hearing from the public. I'm interested in hearing from my colleagues, but I'm happy to have the clarification that I think gives me a little more comfort. But I will say this. One of the things that we expressed the last time we went through this exercise, particularly with respect to this light rail station, which I do believe was overbuilt and overparked to begin with, maybe aspirational, but all of those homes that are being developed in the nearby Delta Shores community, as well as everybody who lives to the south in Elk Grove, if they were going to use their cars as a first mile, last mile solution, this is likely to be the station that they would utilize, given the fact that Cosumnes River College charges for parking. So that's an important consideration as we look to who we're trying to get onto our system. But certainly I recognize the immense strain that you're put under, Brian, and appreciate you coming forward with the solution.
Go to Director Dickinson and then Director Budge.
Thank you. Thank you. Brian, I just wanted to ask regarding who, in a sense, would be eligible to occupy this site were it to become operational. And you said nearby neighborhood. Now, would those who would be eligible for consideration come through the coordinated entry system, or would it be a parallel?
Yeah, it'd be outside of the coordinate entry, because coordinate entry itself would, like our other systems, would go through 211, and staff there would determine vulnerability and what program would fit best for them. We're looking to have this outside of CAS. Of course, we coordinate with CAS all the time, but it would be, we'd look for the people in the general area that needed a place. Again, this is all voluntary, so whoever would be willing to abide by the rules and wants to come to that particular spot. It would be open to the entire city, but we would be looking to serve the local area.
Okay. I'm trying to get a sense of those operational elements, because obviously we have those who are parked on our streets for extended periods of time in RVs, trailers, and similar kinds of vehicles who are not in this vicinity. And so, I mean, there are a couple questions that follow from what you said and partially alluded to. Is would the city need to set up stand up a separate kind of entry point or point of contact for these if it doesn't go through coordinated access or coordinated entry, firstly? And secondly, to what extent would this, in your estimation, be filled to capacity if it were in some immediate circumference of this area? Because we've got other parts of the city that are experiencing this phenomena of street-side parking to a significant extent. And Supervisor Cerna, Director Cerna, whatever title you want to have for the moment, alluded to adjacent to McClellan. And as you know, Diesel Drive and up in that area is, as an industrial area, is filled, literally filled with trailers, RVs, and the like. So can you elaborate a little bit on, do we have to stand up a separate point of contact for entry? What does that entail? And the extent to which you think this would be occupied by those who are in this general vicinity?
Sure. So estimated, again, our incident management team is out in the city every day. We have a very close contact with not only our homeless community that are in tents or street camping, but as well as our individuals that are in RVs and cars. So we are well aware of who our audience is out there. Our estimated is about 450 families living in their vehicles around the city, within the city limits. And we will fill from that general area, the south end of town, we would fill this I am highly likely that we would fill it just from the south end of town.
And then would the city need to stand up a separate operation for point of contact, point of entry?
It would be DCR. It'd be all of our. So we have our DCR staff. What do we have? 16 out in the field. We have our Hope contractors, which is another 10 of us. We have Community Health Works and Step Up. So we have about 55 outreach workers out in the city every day. And so between them, just like we organize and coordinate all of our other entries, we would have someone that is willing to go into the program, and we would just communicate that we are coming to you with somebody that wants to enter the program, and then to be someone on site.
They would presumably then, in some sense, expand their outreach to those who are in trailers and in RVs, as opposed to those who are in encampments or literally on the street.
And we currently do that as well.
Okay.
So we're providing outreach to our vehicles. We have a separate team that's with Code that's providing outreach to all of our RVs and vehicles out there.
Okay. Well, I will make a comment as well as thank you for the response to the questions in the presentation. Would that we were realizing our aspirations, and there was no room in this lot or any of the other lots that we have. And hopefully that will be aspiration that becomes reality at some point in time. But this makes sense to me. I think we all observe what we see on our streets. I know that in the district I represent, it's I wouldn't say it's omnipresent, but it's unavoidably present. And we need places for people to go. The street does not work, and it doesn't work for them to tap into street lights for electricity, and it doesn't work for them to tap into fire hydrants for water, and the other things that they do as in part of necessity. So having something that's organized and that is monitored and structured makes sense to me. So I very much support going forward, negotiating the terms that need to be resolved, and then approaching FTA on this. What it does leave me with is the recognition that if this is going to be filled up, and I presume you're probably right about this from folks in the south area of the city and a surrounding area, that we're going to need to look for more opportunities to do this elsewhere.
We'll look to our brothers and sisters from the county up in the north and closer to your home, and see if we can fill that up as well.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Director Budge?
Okay. So you said there would be showers and restrooms provided, and that's fine. But if one is living in a trailer or an RV, how do they do that without water or access to electricity to run lights and heating and air?
Well, currently on the street, they don't have access to that unless they tap into a power pole. And a lot of times they don't use the restrooms that are in their RV, and they accommodate by finding any place that they can use a restroom because they don't want to fill up their own tank, and then they have to try and dump it, and then they need water. And so this will have the restrooms will be porta potties, and then water is available. But we're not looking to tie in and make this an RV park. We are looking for a safe spot for them to park that's off the road, that we can get them into a stable site, and we can provide services. We know that if we can continue to contact people and provide the services that they need, our chances of getting them into someplace better, into any one of our programs, is much higher if we can at least have the ability to talk to them every day.
In November, December, and January, it's dark at 5 o'clock at night.
Yes, ma'am, there's lighting out in this site, and that is why we picked this site.
You said there was no electricity available.
There's lighting at the site.
The parking lot.
In the parking lot.
All will look to the left here, Director Cerna.
My questions were answered, thank you.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you,
Yes,
Chair.
After Director Cerna.
So, a couple things. Maybe this is best for Chris to answer. In terms of the sequencing of what needs to happen if there's concurrence from our board that we want to move forward with this, because it obviously it's an RT asset. But in terms of the sequence of what needs to happen next, how much work is going to be considered kind of a sunk cost on this before FTA chimes in? And what's the mechanism that FTA uses to tell us, yes, we concur, or no, we don't? And then where are we if they choose not to concur?
We really, before we send anything to the FTA, it has to be pretty much finalized and board approved. And so we're going to need a lease agreement, the site plan, and kind of the program guidelines. And I mean, the lease agreement for Roseville Road was very complicated because it was a 3-party lease agreement. I think a lot of what it's been captured in this proposal that was sent to us is something that we had to negotiate previously. We did highlight a few of our other considerations, but we really do need a buttoned-up agreement to send to the FTA. They're not going to review it unless you have that approved.
So there's a considerable amount of legal work that needs to occur that could very well be lost if the administration comes back and says, no, we're not going to support the use of this transit asset for this particular purpose.
That is a possibility.
Okay. Second thing, unrelated to that, my understanding of things, if they haven't changed, is that when it comes to the county-city relationship and how we partner to best serve our common constituents that are unsheltered, is that if DCR engages with a homeless individual, a homeless family, homeless couple, whether it be kind of triggered by a code concern from a resident or by law enforcement, that if there is an understanding that individual or group of individuals also requires some assistance from the county in terms of what we do, whether it be behavioral health, mental health services, general assistance, that working partnership would operate no differently here than it has kind of organically elsewhere outside of safe parking sites or sanctioned encampments. Is that the case?
Yes, and it for us, because we have the city-county partnership agreement, it gives us the benefit of having the behavioral health aspect of this as part of our deployment team that we have out now. So that's the other component of our outreach. Absolutely.
So okay, I think you answered the question, because so a lot of that has been kind of reactionary. You know, we see that someone has maybe a substance use disorder or mental health challenges. They need access to medications, what have you. But it sounds to me like what we're going to do, again, if the board approves it and we move forward, that there would be some proactive ways that when someone comes in in their vehicle with the understanding of all the rules and expectations of good behavior on site, that once they're there, they're going to understand, hey, we're working with the county. We can provide you the suite of services here. It's not just, like you said, an RV park.
Correct. Yep. So it works. The city-county partnership, we have tried different iterations of deployment of what's most effective. One of the ways that we've seen behavioral health be effective is in our ability to have clients that are in the same place, so you can recontact them and actually do the work.
Sure.
And so we've pulled back from trying to contact everybody in the streets with just general outreach and looking at our shelters and our sites where we know that we have a more stable environment that they can work out of.
Great. Thank you.
And just as for point of clarification, tonight, this item is just informational. This will be coming back. Director Rohrbaum?
I'll just limit it to a few questions, but so you talked about the on-site staff.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be a police officer or would that be a security officer?
Security.
And so they don't have the same enforcement as a police officer,
Correct.
correct? Okay. Can we guarantee that 24/7? A security officer 24/7?
There will be security 24/7.
So if there is drugs or there is some kind of infraction or, something goes amiss, what will that security officer be able to do? Do they have to call PD at that point?
After hours, it'd be a call to PD. Daytime hours, again, we have 12 impact officers that are assigned to the incident management team for the city, and so we'd likely dispatch one of our impact officers over there.
And that concerns me too, because the impact could take away from security in other locations. How is this going to benefit our riders? My job as a director for SAC-RT is to always look to see what is the best and highest use for our ridership. How will this benefit our riders and those using that parking facility for park and ride?
I think that we can look at outside of just the parking lot and look at the benefit to our entire city, not only the riders, which are also citizens of our city. We are at a point in our homeless response that this is yet another tool for us to be able to help pull some people off the street and get them into a safer space. We have emergency shelters, we have interim housing, we have permanent supportive housing, we have every realm that you can possibly offer right now. And this is the one piece that we don't have. And it is, it's again goes back to, well, I can't park here, but where can I park? We're providing that place that they can park. It's significant to helping our unhoused that are in vehicles has been a component that hasn't been fully addressed in that we've been working so hard on everybody else that are campers. And so this is that piece that really benefits everybody.
And you said the city, and I appreciate that because I know that you do have a lot in front of you as far as the homeless crisis. But again, my job is to protect our riders and to be good neighbors as well. So I'm really concerned about the benefits to SAC-RT and more the opposite effect of what this could do. One of the things I often hear is the three things that we look for is safety, cleanliness, and reliability of our service, and I believe this could be a detriment to it. Of course, we don't have data. So, I have some concerns about this. One of our goals here is to increase ridership, and I can see this doing the opposite, having the opposite effect. So, so that's enough for now. But thank you.
Thank you.
Director Maple. Thank you, Madam Chair. Really appreciate the presentation, and I think this is a really important conversation to come back to this body. I know that it was several years ago that it was first had. I wasn't on this board at that time, I don't believe, but I'm glad that we're having it. Just on Friday of last week, in the morning, some folks who are on this body here, yourself and others, participated in our Continuum of Cares meeting for the Regional Coordinated Homeless Action Plan. And I was really inspired to be in that room because we heard not just from, elected officials and their perspective, but we also heard from service providers and folks like yourself who are doing kind of a combination of services and enforcement. So you kind of get to see all sides of it. And so it was very clear to me from that conversation from almost everybody in the room that there's an acknowledgement that we don't have enough. We just don't. It's something that we have to acknowledge openly and honestly in order to move beyond it and continue to work towards it. We have a lot of really brilliant people on the city side, on the county side, and the other cities who are working towards these solutions every day, and we've really increased that capacity through creative solutions just like this and others. But at some point, we do have to continue to push it and make it happen. That's my view. As you've mentioned, one of the challenges that we have in general is that there's really not a legal place in the city of Sacramento and probably beyond for you to park your vehicle if you're living in it. And so de facto, you're moving around constantly, and that is the worst way for you to be able to get the services and the help that you need. If you need to be in contact with a medical provider, mental health, substance use, whatever that may be, or if you're just trying to survive and get to work or pick up your kids from school or whatever that may be, it's really a challenge. And so we know that in the programs that we do have, where people are able to stay in one place for long enough to get connected to a housing navigator or to the right job opportunity or to the mental health care that they may need, staying in one place is really important. And it's almost impossible right now if you're living in your car. It's just the truth. And so just, speaking plainly, I really appreciate the willingness to at least have the conversation from the RT and the city perspective, because we can only really do this through partnership. I don't know if you can speak a little bit to the availability of, parking lots or spaces in the city of Sacramento that are, owned and operated by the city, versus, and maybe speak to why it's important for us to have to partner with others to do this.
Sure. That's about where we are on everything that we have available to provide right now. And until we look outside of the city and look at our partners and look at private partners, we have no place. And so that's where I drive around constantly looking at where is a spot that we can put people, whether to house them, whether to allow them to park somewhere. And this is an opportunity for us to provide, 140 spots, but really looking at, that's also why I'm looking at keeping the number low, is 60, 80 in this 140 keeps the concern for excessive garbage, excessive storage, that the excessive storage is not allowed. The excessive garbage is also not allowed. There will be garbage on site. So we're trying to keep this tight, clean, and tidy and provide services and to not impact the entire area. There's 520 slots in there. We're looking at 140 in the farthest away corner that we can provide it.
That's really helpful. And, for me, it's not simple. Obviously there's a lot of complication to this issue, but in my view, no matter what, that individual or that family or that group of people are either somewhere on a street, in someone's private property, in an industrial area, whatever that may be. People don't just disappear. They exist. And I think it's very important for us, no matter what board or entity that I sit on, have that compassion and humanity to realize if we can get them into a space, stabilized and into something else, we're creating more throughputs and more opportunities to help others out and get connected to the right resource. And the last comment I'll make is I was very struck by 450 families. There are a lot of people who may be addicted to drugs or alcohol on the streets. Yes, there are people who might have mental health conditions on the streets that I believe they also deserve care. But the reality is we also have people who are working jobs and have kids and are trying to, if they just can't afford rent, they've lost their housing for some reason or another. We certainly have those people in our communities, and I think that if they can have an opportunity to get the care they need, that'll be great. So I look forward to hearing from the public and from the other directors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Maple. I believe Director Brewer had a question, and then Director, okay. And then I have comments as well. Oh, I'm sorry, and then Director Kennedy. We'll come to Director Kennedy. You were sitting right next to me, I forgot. We'll go to Director Brewer and then come back to Director Kennedy.
Thank you, Chair. So as we're looking at the site itself, we know there's lights at the site, but there's no electric outlets in those areas. So if they need to plug up or power up, does that mean that those RVs or mobile homes, if they need to have electricity, they have to have a generator or something on site, or is that restricted?
Yeah. So restriction on generators. Again, it's a challenge to balance between making an RV park out of this and trying to get people in a safe spot. We're trying to get people off of the streets into somewhere safe and that we can provide some service. It's not going to be the best that you can have, but there's two things going against us. Number one, we don't have the funding to make the best space, and number two, we're not looking at making this a permanent place where you can park your RV and live for the rest of your life. So As harsh as it sounds, it's a balance of trying to provide someplace safe and someplace stable without all the amenities that you would want.
And as for the curfew, the 10 to 6 curfew, you may have an individual who is working either a graveyard shift or that swing shift where they may end work at 11 p.m. or midnight. Is there a grace period that allows people who are coming in, or will there be someone on site to let them in based on that information or knowledge? Because obviously, if that person is doing a job, is at a job that has that sort of late window, they need to be back in the facility, or at least let back in some way, shape, or form. Will there be someone on site to let them in? And is there some sort of agreement between the city or the county or the administrator running the actual lot, it's that spot itself, to help them make that?
Yes. So the security that will be on site will be trained up to, bless you, trained up to have the roster who is on an agreement to go past curfew or is working nights. And it's not unlike other shelters we have that allow you to come and go when we have curfews. There is a grace period on this as well. It's not black and white and you're kicked out if you're not here by 10 o'clock.
No, I appreciate that, because there will be, the gist of what you had just shared with us, and I definitely appreciate the location, is the whole notion of being able to help people where they're at and trying to get them back on their feet. And you show that there'll be people in RVs, cars, maybe vans, but the table that was set was pretty clear. These are the working poor. These are the people who cannot afford to live in apartments because the market has priced them out. And so, just being able to provide whatever services that are needed to help get people back on their feet or get that transition into an apartment is definitely important. But definitely appreciate the curfew. It's just being able to give that grace period for those individuals who will be there that work somewhere else that has that late hour time to actually get off of work, come back home, so they don't feel like that they're being forced or rushed,
right,
or they cannot accept that job because you have the curfew in place.
Right. Yep, for sure. We work with each individual and get an agreement of working hours and a schedule for them, and try and make it as standard as we can. Try and give them some sense of stability.
And it's the stability, plus it's being able to provide the full wraparound services that are needed to help that individual or that family.
Absolutely.
In that respect. So
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Director Kennedy.
Thank you, Chair. Kind of shotgun here because so much has been brought up. Brian, I first of all, I sincerely appreciate you're drawing the distinction. We're not setting up a KOA here. This is a location in which we can triage people, gets people in a safer environment than they currently are. It gets people out of neighborhoods and business districts. But most importantly, it gets them in a controlled environment where we can connect them with services that we can't do when they're scattered throughout the city. So I appreciate that distinction. This is not, I was very much involved with some of the discussions with FTA the last time around with Roseville Road. And there's some significant differences here, but I do want to, first of all, call out RT to say that this is not regional transits or any transit district's primary mission. But the fact that, this organization recognizes that you're a part of this community, and you have to diverge from what our primary mission is in order to better serve the community. So I really appreciate RT and the staff of continuing to work on this. I also want to commend the city of Sacramento because the last time around, it felt fell through partially because there were too many onerous things being asked of RT, that we just, it just went beyond our mission to the point where we couldn't do it from a fiscal perspective or a liability perspective. So thank you to the City of Sacramento, Brian, your staff, for coming up with this. I think it's a much better plan than what we had before, and we're heading in the right direction. Now I'm going to ask the hard question. So Supervisor Cerna and I both share constituents that didn't think Miller Park was all that successful. Why is this different?
Oh, the many ways.
Okay.
So let's start with really, and I think you hit on it a little bit. Our environment now in our homeless community is way different than we were 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We're to the point that we have almost everybody's contact in our homeless management information system. We have all of our services that are contrary to everybody's belief, that are all working together and collaborating together. And we are, we're hitting on all cylinders. We're now challenged with doing more with less and trying to create more efficient ways to provide services. So in Miller Park days, it was early on. It was trying to figure it out. I think we've been in this environment long enough and have enough data at this point, and are well more organized and collaborative to know how to structure it. And not bite off more than we can chew, and just provide a more stable environment without, I think we're past, there obviously are community members that still have concerns because the homeless community is a spectrum of our general population. So we do have people with substance issues. We have people with behavioral health concerns. But we also have a lot of families out there living in their vehicles that are stable and just want a place to stay. And that's who we're looking to get into this community.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions from directors? All right, I'll pose my mostly comments. I do have a question. As it relates to, I heard a comment that prior to launch is when the stakeholder engagement will take place. Why prior to launch and not right now? With all of the impacted stakeholders, the residents, CRC, others, to let them know of what you have in mind.
There's two sides to that. There is the, I think we've all well expressed that we're opening a new place, and then you don't see it for 2 years. Mm-hmm. So we want to not have that. I personally have no problem with bringing this forward at this point to let them know, but we're so early in this, and we have a few hurdles to get over before we can even start moving forward with this. It would be up to my boss and our leaders to determine.
Ultimately. So, yeah, I'm just, my example is the city of Elk Grove. When we even contemplate something like this, we always look for community feedback.
Sure.
So that nobody's surprised.
Sure.
Or no one says, well, I wasn't informed, I didn't have an opportunity. So to that extent, a well-informed public is always good.
Absolutely.
So, but I fully understand what you're saying in the sense of we're not necessarily there yet. But I do think, this would be in Councilmember Bang's district, so perhaps she'll be leading some discussions or things, but I do think that it's a good idea to have community engagement, not necessarily all before, but it can be happening parallel. And, when I sit back here as a mayor of another city, this is coming in Sacramento, I'd like to really sort of step back and look at that sort of regional approach of what really is at the heart of SAC-RT, Sacramento Regional Transit. It's not just what's good for my city, but also our region. And I see the thoughtful approach that you've all taken here and considering all of the available land. Think that, you know, what is unique here, and it shows it very clearly in the map. We have space. We have space that won't encroach on our riders, which I do share the concerns for our riders. What will this look like, and will this cause a safety issue? But I do believe you've created a lot of checks and balances along the way here that if there are issues, they can be raised and addressed in a real-time manner. So I appreciate that, particularly the 24-hour security aspect. People want to see a safe place. Ultimately, for me, I look at this as something that addresses human dignity, giving a safe place for a person or persons, a family. And this provides that stability. And I also want to respect what Mayor McCarty wants to do as he's leading the city as well, and sort of his vision and help support as a neighboring city, because, you know, homelessness is not just the city of Sacramento's problem. We all have different numbers, but we all have it. And so to support something that, quite honestly, is a space that we don't need right now, and we can revisit it in a year. So I'm supportive of what you're trying to do, and I look forward to the process along the way. And with the notion, of course, FTA being, you know, that is a primary concern. And that's, as a SAC-RT wearing that lens, that's going to be the most important. Because what we don't want to do is lose funding for the programs that we do operate. But hopefully we don't get there, and you negotiate something that works very well. So I look forward to this coming back. So tonight's just an information item. I imagine we have a number of public comments, perhaps. I don't know.
There's no public comment.
Okay.
If
Yes,
this is
please.
going to come back, then I have some requests for some data, and I don't know if it's our staff or you that would bring this to us. And I think before I move on to that, though, to your point about this impacting the neighborhoods, I would definitely like to hear from them. So next time we have it, I don't want to wait too long in the process because I'm not familiar with this neighborhood. So that would be very relevant to me. But here's some things that I would like. We don't have one in the county, so I'm not sure that we need to be the first, but I would like to see, you had other examples of where this has been implemented. So I would like to see if you could get data on what is the increase or decrease in ridership out at those stations that something like this is at. What is the increase or decrease in commuter parking? What is the increase or decrease in calls for police, both to the city or the county, whoever's in these other jurisdictions, and to the RT system? And then the type of crime. If it went up, then what type of crimes went up? And then increase or decrease in fire calls as well.
Thank you, Director. And I think also just that quality control, I think, is really at the heart of some of these possible concerns. Because I am somewhat familiar with this area, I would actually encourage our directors to maybe do a field trip out there to see how removed it is from the station. It's pretty far away. So just to put it in perspective. So you've got those additional, I think Director Maple had a follow-up.
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick follow-up. Agree, I actually, love the idea of data. I think we should always be data informed, so that'll be really interesting. One of the comments was around FTA and the federal administration and what that EO executive order could mean for us. I think local jurisdictions are still kind of figuring that out. I know we are too. So my request would be, if it sounds like there might be at least some tacit support to move forward this conversation, that we do active outreach to FTA and ask for their guidance of what it means to them. So, for example, if they're reading the executive order language to mean that a project like this would absolutely impact us, then of course I think that we need to take a step back and see if that works, because we obviously need funding for our district to do the work that we need to do. So just like that really proactive outreach. The other thing that I wanted to mention is I did speak with Councilmember Vang prior to this meeting just to get her thoughts. For context, when the original idea of this project, not what's being proposed now, but a similar idea was brought forward, they did do community outreach, and she expressed her support for this, but she did request that there would be more community meetings, including with the Dear Mesa Grande Community Association and others. So I know that will be a part of it, and just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. And I think to your point, we have relationships with FTA, so it would be actually good to have that those conversations proactively rather than submit something and then be surprised by it, to have them as part of the partnership. Yes. All right, so this again is an information item, so we look forward to having it back. And in the interest of time, we are going to consider, with your consent, of moving item 4.3 either to a future meeting, or because it's information on surplus properties, we can very easily get this as an electronic update, unless you absolutely want to hear it today. So seeing no objections, electronic update on, and that will be available to everybody as well. Yes, Director.
I guess what I would ask, if that's to come back to us electronically or however it does, is information on to when we look at moving forward with a marketing effort on the project, what the timeline is.
Yes, some details.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then if you can, even further, if we're getting it as an electronic update, you can provide input as part of your director update.
Absolutely.
Or CEO update. All right, so that's moving on to 5.1.
Yes. Oh, okay. It's my report?
Yes.
Okay, good evening, Madam Chair and the board.
I know.
Very few update. First, in last board meeting, we discussed FTA grant master agreement to revise some of our policies. Good news, because of a court order and our general counsel determines we don't need to make any changes. So that's one. Then next one. Recently the most buzzwords in the industry is cutting service, and in Pennsylvania, two top agencies cutting 45% of service, and one agency, one of those two, similar size to us, they cut 45% of service and received 4,000 comments. All those comments are extremely negative, as you can see. California, the assembly budget includes $750 million loan for Bay Area transit agencies for them to avoid cutting service this coming year. So we are fortunate to in a little bit better position for the next 4 or 5 years, but we're going to work with board, to work with community partners to see how we can right the ship in the future, to make sure we have a long-term, financial support for us to avoid any this type of things. Next, please. We got everybody knows Miss Margie Donovan is one of the most, frequent or outspoken, supporter of Sacramento, or sometimes, constructive criticisms. And she wrote us a wonderful email about our service, about the paratransit goal. Just want to thank staff, operation, who have truly, addressed large portion of the issues and raised last couple months when we changed a new scheduling system. We feel bad about when we changed that new scheduling system and something, did not immediately address. Now, this is the example. Our on-time performance increased to 82%, and the service is much, much better. So this is a good, comment from public. Then next one, please. You remember, president's budget included 15 transit projects for funding 2 months ago. Out of this 15, our streetcar project was fully funded. Then 2 weeks ago, Congressional Transportation and Community Urban Development Committee further cut the project from 15 to 7, only 7. And we are so grateful that one of those 7s is our streetcar. What does that mean? That means our streetcar project will be fully funded at $160-some million, and very likely we will start construction later next year, and that is more than 25 years, a quarter of a century, journey, and finally we say we're going to move forward. Yeah. So really want to appreciate FTA and our lots of funding agencies and partners. And thanks to the board members who attended the White House briefing and FTA meeting last time. We have a group of people, City of Sac and the County of Sac and Sac-RT had a visit to AC Transit for the BRT, the new BRT project in preparation of our Stockton Boulevard BRT. So lots of great work going on. Next slide, please. This is very interesting. We just, thanks to the board approval, this agenda item for the TNC Access for All program, we receive 10 cents per ride or per whatever. We receive some money in this county because TNC companies like Uber, they're going to pay us, and county designated us as the funding administrator, and we received $2.3 million so far. It's money we did not expect it. Some great information. Next one. Early this month, APTA has a real conference in San Francisco because it's so close, so we attended that meeting. And in 3 days, I was privileged to attend 3 panel discussions with some the highly recognized CEOs here in the industry to promote Sac-RT in a national stage. And this is not what my major focus. Next slide, please. Then next slide. So this APTA conference showcased this picture. I said maybe somebody who everybody recognizes, put the biggest scissor to cut that, and with some great leaders like Cal STA Secretary, Siemens President, and others. Thank you, Director him for promoting the region. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then again, our Sac City District 2 had a wonderful best bus tour. The city staff told me in the history, city history, no single district council member ever put such wonderful tour together. And that is our new director, Roger Dixon. And more than 50 or 60 people packed our bus. We spent about 5 hours. And it's just amazing. The next slide, please. Yeah. And early this month, late last month, and Folsom had a Folsom rodeo service. It's always Sac County support them by providing special services for 3 days. And the ridership increased more than 16% compared to last year. Thank you, Director Robert, for leading on this effort. Okay, next slide. We want to talk about, we had a wonderful ride along with Sheriff, and I really appreciate his unconditional support. And also, we scheduled a ride along with DA Tian Ho, and also City of Sac Police Chief Nestor next month. And we're going to have more ride along. We would like to invite our board members to join this ride along. And the interaction with our riders are truly wonderful. And they really enjoyed the conversations with us. And let me see, do you have one more? And then lastly, I just want to thank our community advocates for you guys for the constructive criticism. And even though we may disagree with some of your criticism, but we really appreciate it because that will continue to motivate us to do better and better. And Jeff, I want to say you are epitome, the perfect example of how community advocates or ambassador, and not just continuously pushing us to do better and better, and also you spend countless time to work with us to look into the actual the site, how to address those issues, and spend lots of times. And Heron, and Coke, you guys spend lots of time on that to work with us. I just want to appreciate the effort. And Mike, we'd love to work with you to have to organize a competition of the ideas how to make our parking rights better utilize that. And strong downtown team is out here, and we have talked to them multiple times previously. We'd love to work with them too, and we love to work with everybody, and we want to make sure we make this organization better, greater. And thanks for board guidance and leadership on all this stuff. Okay.
All right.
That being said, back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for your report. Any questions or comments from directors? Looking to the right. Yes, Director Hume.
Just one comment in the spreadsheet there that showed the FDA recommended funding. I noticed that other than our streetcar and whatever the Marta Rapid South Lake project is, all of them were BRT projects that took home the lion's share of the money. So if that's where the FTA is right now, we should keep that in mind in our future.
Thank you. Right now, 80% of federal fundings are on BRT.
Any questions on the left here? Questions, comments for our CEO? All right, public comments?
We have Helen O'Connell.
Good evening. I'm glad that RT is doing well at maintaining service to the people that need it most, transit dependent people. Seems to be at the top of the list, and that makes it wonderful. But we can't forget that we have service deserts where we don't have any service or minimal service that limits people's ability to get to grocery stores, hospitals, things like that. I don't know how to address that with the FTA, but I'm glad that RT is doing well at maintaining our service levels. And I would like to thank everyone for addressing our needs and being proactive. And I'm glad to see that people that were here, left, came back, are still here. So I've been here a long time. Have a great night, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Jeffrey Tartagia.
I'm going to try to use this one. What I have to say to the board is Fresno is potentially going to have 3 separate measures on the 26th ballot related to transportation. As far as I know, Sacramento, we don't have any going forward. I hope we do something, we figure out something that works, and I hope the board gets behind and perhaps sees what other areas are doing. I testified for a couple of things that happened with the legislators lately, but Sacramento needs to figure out for better for the future. And as Helen and I have commented time and time again, we need to figure out how, with all the projects going on, how we deal with keeping what's going on and whatever else we need to do in the future. There's other things, but Henry, I try to be the best supportive element I can, and I hope that I'm doing the job that is needed. Thank you.
Sir, any other public comments?
No other public comment.
Any follow-up comments from directors? Seeing none, we'll move on. Let's see, we are on reports, ideas, questions from directors and communication. Let's see, Capital Corridor, Joint Powers Authority summary. Anything from directors? Dickinson, Schaefer is gone. Nothing. Wave. Mobility Advisory Council meeting summary. We need anything on that?
I do have one public comment from Jeffrey Tardigia.
Oh,
Yeah, I went to it last and they dealt with the visual. This one doesn't seem to have a record in there of how we're dealing with for the low floor vehicles visual response, although was well explained in the demonstration through there about it. But that is still an element that really for people that are blind and people that have a disability, how the low floor vehicles really work for them. And I hope that he gets back to Rick Jennings that we really need to do a workshop that goes through something that explains really how to use the low floor vehicles. Thank you.
noted, thank you. San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority?
Thank you, Chair. I will just say in that picture that was shown up there, one of the other gentlemen in the picture was Tox Omashakin, the Secretary of Transportation for the state of California. That was really cool to have him join us. But another person, the only female in the picture, is Stacy Mortensen, the CEO of the San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission and the San Joaquin's Joint Powers Authority, who has announced her impending retirement. And so we are looking for a new CEO to lead that organization, one who will be better positioned to interface with the railroads, particularly Union Pacific, as well as FTA and the state of California, in order to get serious about delivery of some of these major projects to expand Valley Rail.
Sounds great, thank you. Any public comment on that?
There's no public comment.
All right, well, that moves us to our adjournment. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. We will adjourn at 6:42 p.m.